Thank you again to Gregory and to Cindy for the amazing work that they've done, for shining a light on this issue, for being incredible partners with us. And remember, now is our Kairos moment. Let's make sure that none of our sons or daughters, brothers or sisters, friends or neighbors are ever without a home. But together we seize this moment for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anne. And, now everybody here did such an amazing job of talking about how we have to build a responsive and inclusive system to address youth homelessness in this country. And what Jema is now going to join us on stage to talk a little bit about is a little bit more through the LGBT lens in each of these 4 areas.
That's sort of what I'm going to talk about. You just set me up too high. Thank you all so much for talking. Thank you all for being here. We just got a little bit more on the program until lunch, and I promise you'll have some food and we'll be re-energized for the afternoon. So I'm just struck by what an important moment we have right now, that we're gathered together right now with this particular legislation so close, that we are so close to having LGBT young people protected from discrimination when accessing RIA-funded services. That's pretty exciting. No? Hello? Are you with me? Yeah. Exactly. And we need to keep this momentum going until it's done. And then think about what's next. Because working smarter, not harder, doesn't end when we win. I watched a short video of Ash Beckham talking recently, and I've been thinking about an idea that she mentioned about how you can legislate tolerance, but you can't legislate acceptance. And that's why this idea of working smarter, not harder, is actually really important. Because our strategic work doesn't end when we get a big win. In fact, at that point, it's all the more important that we work together really strategically to maximize the opportunities that we gain from that win. So for the couple of minutes I'm going to talk to you right now, I'm going to operate under the presumption that the Runaway Homeless Youth Act passes with an intact non-discrimination statement in it. Hooray! That's amazing. And I'm going to talk about what's next, right? How are we going to make this legislation applicable, relevant, and meaningful to those that it's meant to serve? LGBT young people experiencing homelessness. So we can't legislate acceptance, but we can sure as heck work to promote it. And this is how we do it. We translate this newly earned right into actions that lead us closer to justice. So under the great leadership of the folks that you've heard from so far today, we move closer to justice for LGBT youth by practicing intentionality in how we spend our money, in how we create our programs, in how we implement those programs, how we gauge programmatic success. What are those benchmarks? Are they relevant? How and from whom we gather data, and what narrative we put forth in the media. And we do all of these things through an LGBT lens. So what does that even mean? You may be wondering, right? So this is what it means. I'm going to tell you. It means more than saying, all youth are welcome here. It doesn't matter who you are. Sexual orientation and gender identity don't matter here. Because you know what? Those things matter. Hardcore matter deeply. So you have to do more than wear a rainbow t-shirt. Those are great. But you got to do a little bit more than that. It means creating spaces that celebrate LGBT youth. Spaces that clearly show and tell them that they will be included, and those messages have to be clear and they have to be consistent. Because guess what? If they're not clear and consistent, the young people aren't going to show up. And if they're not showing up, they're going to be somewhere else. And that somewhere else may be on the street. And I want to pause for just a minute to say why this is so incredibly important. Because historically, and at present, until we pass this piece of legislation, We have not protected young people from discrimination when accessing RIA-funded services, and then we subsequently criminalize them for doing what they need to do in order to survive out there on their own.
Hear, hear.
That just doesn't seem very fair. So how do we make this happen? How do we work smarter, not harder, to make it easier for our young people to get ahead? We put LGBT youth at the center of our planning, and we think through every aspect of every program being developed, every benchmark being created, and we think about the unique barriers that might exist for LGBT young people in achieving that benchmark. And then we think some more. Because we need to be thinking specifically about transgender and gender nonconforming young people, because the way our society polices gender makes their paths incredibly difficult. For example, you can't just tell a young transgender woman to go get a job. Not because she's not the most amazing person that you've ever met, but because our society is set up to exclude that person from that process. So that really sucks. But if we're going to change that, we have to acknowledge it, we have to talk about it, and we have to do something. So does she have ID that reflects who she is? Does she have access to trans-affirming health care? Does your city or town protect people from employment discrimination based on gender identity or expression? No? Then you're going to have to think about that when you're setting these benchmarks and making her plan and helping her achieve her goals. It means knowing how to connect LGBT youth to the LGBT community in your town. It means marching alongside them in the Pride Parade. It means doing so much more than tolerating, and actually so much more than accepting. It means celebrating and nurturing. And not even though, but because of. Because LGBT youth are an indispensable part of our society, and we need them. That's why we're here. So if you take one thing from what I've just said, and I've just said a lot of words, I want you to remember this. In order to work smarter and not harder, we've got to work with our partners in the public and private sectors, across the federal government, and in the White House, to put LGBT young people at the center. Because at 40%, they kind of already are. Thanks.
So I think, as you can tell, the leadership and the brilliance and the intellect of the people that are up on the stage right now, I'm grateful for each and every one of you and the roles that you're playing. And one of the things that I would say is that what is also so beautiful is that everybody on this stage works together. And it's about partnership, and it's about friendship, and it's about sharing a common commitment to young people. That is something that, being in the nonprofit sector for 15 years, is a very hard thing to always facilitate. You know, particularly when you're talking about innovation, and then trying to build collaboration around innovation, that could be a challenging prospect. But everybody on this stage is firmly committed to that, and that's why we wanted each of them to be here today to talk with all of you. So we have a few minutes for a couple of questions, if anybody in the audience. Well, I got to go to Cindy for a second. Let her ask a question.
I'm sorry. I know I'm going to talk to you later, but I got a question. I don't need that. I got a question about one, and you're the philanthropy person. You happen to be sitting on the same panel here with this guy who's working so hard to help the kids. The reason we had this, so everybody talks. Jamma, you said you have to include the LGBT kids, and it ain't just a flag outside. So, what exactly is it in ABC form? Because we got the people here, and I know I must sound like an idiot, but I think you have to really be clear. And you guys, you're talking great, and I'm very impressed, but clarity and straight to the point we got all these people here, and all of you people are working with the kids, and all you people have little holes at this part we don't have, and this part we don't have. Well, somebody here has the hole that you are missing, and up here we got other people who have the holes that you are missing. We got the government people that we're working with, and like the lady from Tumbleweed, you need 198 beds. Who can help? Can you help her? Does she need to talk to HUD? That's what you got to do. You got to step up, talk to each other, change numbers, and help each other out. That's why we're here. I'm not big on a speech. I'm big on what's number one, number two, number three. How do we get this going? That's it. And I just want you to know that's what you hear. And all these people, Ann, very important. She got the dough. and these other ladies here are from the government. They can help you too. And they need the numbers. This guy here, he needs, you got to talk to Ann. So that's all. I just want to make it real clear. All right, I just want to be really clear about it. You know, I know just nice speeches. Just, you got to talk to each other, get your numbers. The reason we're making everybody come together is because some programs work and some are failing. And why are they failing? Well, let's talk to the guy with the program that's working and let's move it forward. Not just talk, but really do it. You know what I'm saying? And these guys up here, some of them can help you. Again, sorry, Ann. She knows the deep pockets, so go there. All right, that's it. I'm sorry, and I guess I'll talk to you later.
As I told you, collaboration is a big thing at the True Colors Fund, and in great part because of Cindy's belief in that philosophy and that concept. So she says it a lot better than I could, though. So,
oh, yeah, well. Somebody who lives next door to me.
That's gentleman right here.
Darla, you had mentioned in the Runway and Homeless Youth Act authorization possibly an extension of Basic Center services beyond the 21 days. What is
to 30 days?
Okay.
So it's not an issue. People ask questions about it. They want to know why. You know, is it going to require more money? Of course, that's what Congress wants to know. It's like, no, you're still giving the same amount of money to programs. The average length of stay is in a Basic Center program is around 15 days. But we know, and we've heard from a lot of providers, there is a percentage of young people that really do need more time. So that's kind of the conversation that we've been able to have, and it's been very effective. Because if you're kicking kids out before they've successfully reunified with family or found an alternative living place that is safe, then the chances of them coming back increase. So it really increases outcomes and saves money in the long term. And folks really kind of heard that and got that. So we've been able to answer those questions. So it's in the bill that is moving, because we knew it was a big issue. Yeah.
And just one other thing about that, 69% of youth that go through a BCP program do end up going back home. So that if we can get that number higher, particularly for LGBT youth, then that is a significant trend towards getting that 40% number down to none.
Mm-hmm.
Gunnar.
First, I'll just come out as a formerly homeless youth. So,
Thank you.
And this is back when Cyndi Lauper was on MTV, and MTV had just started. So that's the year I come from. My question, I have a lot of questions, but I will start with the data question. As a transgender person who has been fighting for years to get us counted in national data, what's the reality that you're going to ask questions about gender identity expression? Because when we look at youth data, for the most part, it's based on lesbian and gay and not even bisexual youth. So what's the real answer? Is that really going to happen, especially from the federal government? Because I work in states that don't have non-discrimination laws, like Alaska, Idaho, Montana, and to get data from the state that actually reflects our community, we need somebody bigger, aka the government, to say it needs to happen. And then the other thing I come up against as a funder, I would love to partner with an organization that wants to even provide emergency services in some of the states, but we are up against faith-based faith-based places who say, don't ask, don't tell, don't look too queer, and you know what, we don't want your money because you're going to make us take the queer kids and be out about it. So those are the two issues as a funder that I come up against in the states that I work in. So how are we going to work towards that?
Well,
Please. Please.
I'll just say two things quickly from the federal level. I don't want to speak for HUD. This year can speak for themselves. We'll talk to you after. But the intention is to move toward being able to capture data in the point-in-time count that includes a category of people who are transgendered in the guiding. Some communities do that. They can do that now. But I think there'll be more clarity from HUD instructing to do that. We think the timeline for that is the 2015 count. In terms of working with faith-based providers, I think it takes all of us to help us evolve in all aspects of our communities. We're in the White House Office of Faith-Based, sits on the Interagency Council, and we're talking with them about a number of ways we can engage faith-based providers to kind of bring them along to the things that we've learned about effective practices in serving people who are experiencing homelessness, and would love to talk with you further to help us really refine that message of what you think they need to hear.
Yeah, and as a recovering Fed, I can't speak to that, but I can speak to the commitment that we have to accurately reflect the needs and perspectives of gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgendered youth in the count that we're doing, and we'll continue to raise resources because we think if they're not documented well here, outside the federal government, they probably won't be documented at all.
And I'll just add one thing. There will be a report coming out from HHS in a couple of weeks that was done through the street outreach programs, 11 street outreach programs. And while I can't share the data yet, it's the best data that we've had yet around the number of transgender youth that are homeless in this country. It was not astounding to see it, but it was important that we, for the first time, I think, really are collecting the right data. And the questions that they used were questions that we provided them guidance on so that we could get the right data and the techniques that were used to get that. So that information will be shared in a couple of weeks.
What won't be shared is the 2 years it took us to get that one out.
I mean, I just worked on the Genius recommendations that have taken us 5 years, and as somebody who's been in the movement for over 20 years, as a trans person, to even see that now is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. We have time for one quick more question, and then we have to go. This lovely lady in the front, please.
My name is Ludi Young, and I'm representing the Boston Medical Center Emergency Department from Boston Medical. And what I'd like to know is how, as an emergency department, who sees an awful lot of homeless LGBT youth who come into the ER, how can we partner with you and learn how to better serve the young people who come into the ER, who are silent faces, and as providers, I'd like to teach our providers and the public about the youth who come in and to be a better servant of the youth.
So, one of the things that we're working on at True Colors Fund with our 40 to None project is an inclusion assessment tool that's really meant to be used in any kind of organization that allows you to conduct an entire organizational scan from written policies to informal practices to physical space, and really sort of see areas that you can improve to make it clear that you're an inclusive and affirming space for LGBT young people. So I'm more than happy to work with you on that. And then I think through our network, which you're going to learn a little bit about at lunch, we can help you connect to other people that are doing very similar stuff in your geographical region. Yeah.
Great. Well, please join me in thanking everybody for coming up.